18-year-old Odin Jakobsen went missing on November 18, 2018, and his disappearance is connected to a very strange chain of events. The young man lived with his parents in a small Norwegian village called Ekleva. On November 17th, around 5:30 p.m., his mother drove him to a training session in the neighboring city of Trondheim. She told her son that she would let him know the bus schedule so he could get home, and if there were no buses, she would pick him up herself. After the training session ended, Odin called his mother and said he wouldn't be coming home right away. Instead, he planned to meet up with a friend. Around 10 p.m., his mother received a message from her son in which he asked her when the next bus home would be. After that, the boy did not get in touch again. Later, the police determined that his phone died around 11:30 p.m. After Odin didn't come home, his parents contacted the police. The first thing law enforcement did was question the boy's friends, who said that Odin had gone to a party with them that evening. Afterwards, they walked around the city for a bit and then went their separate ways home. Odin told his friends that he planned to take the bus and go home. Footage from surveillance cameras confirms this story, but for some reason the boy never actually went home. After parting ways with his friends, he wandered around the city for several hours, repeatedly appearing on camera footage. He was holding a blue bag containing sports clothes and shoes. It seemed like he didn't have any particular goal in mind, and the route he was walking made no sense. 12 days after his disappearance, a worker in the port of the city found his personal belongings: Odin's passport, phone, bank card and transit card. Notably, they were neatly folded and covered with leaves by the wall of the warehouse. After this discovery, the port area was thoroughly searched, which led to another finding. 400 meters from the first spot, searchers found a bag containing underwear, sports pants, a t-shirt and Odin's hat. Nearby, on a pallet with stones, there was a sneaker, the boy's. The sinister discoveries made it clear that something terrible had happened to the young man. The police decided to check the surveillance camera footage at the port to find out what happened to Odin. However, after investigators seized the data storage devices, a problem arose. The thing is, the recorded video footage is stored for only 7 days, after which it is automatically deleted. Since the boy's belongings were found 12 days after he went missing, this meant that by that time, the valuable footage from the cameras had already been erased. Despite this, law enforcement sent the storage device to a data recovery lab, hoping to restore the deleted video recordings. Days, weeks, and months went by. No clues appeared, and the case was gradually turning into a cold case. Then, 5 months after the disappearance in April 2019, a chilling discovery was made. A tourist called the police and reported finding half-burned clothing in a campfire by Lake Jonsvatnet. Later, Odin's parents would confirm that the item belonged to their son. However, the police did not disclose what exactly had been found. The place where the discovery was made is located 20 kilometers from the port, Odin's last known location. In June 2019, 7 months after the disappearance, law enforcement announced that they had managed to recover deleted footage from the surveillance cameras at the port. Some fragments captured Odin. In one of the recordings, you can see the young man start to run. He is still holding the same blue sports bag in his hands. The last time the young man was caught on camera, at 6:01 in the morning, he walked past a white container behind which his belongings would later be found. A bag with sports clothes, a hat and sneakers. This video clip is the last known sighting of Odin. And what happened to him next? We can only guess. Six hours later, the same camera captures a white station wagon parking behind the container. A person gets out of the car, looks around and then goes behind the container. He stayed there for a few minutes and then left. Law enforcement immediately took an interest in this person. After the video clip was released to the public, investigators received several tips that led them to the driver of this car. The police did not disclose his identity. All that is known is that he is a 40-year-old man. This person is a very interesting character in this story, and here's why. After the half-burned belongings of the woman were found near Lake Jonsvatnet, the police questioned 130 people living in the area, among whom was this man. During the first interrogation, he did not reveal anything important. However, after he was spotted on the footage at the port, the police questioned him again, and this time he told a bizarre story. The man confessed that he arrived at the port and took some of Odin's belongings, after which he brought them to the lake and burned them. He was never able to give a coherent explanation for why he did it. According to him, he panicked when he found out the belongings belonged to a missing guy and decided to get rid of them. Investigators thoroughly checked this person. In addition to interrogations, they searched his house and car and also seized his electronics. Nothing indicated that he had any connection to Odin's disappearance. Later, he was arrested for giving false testimony. In June 2020, a year and a half after the disappearance, a witness came forward in the case, claiming to have seen Odin in the area. It was in the same area near Lake Jonsvatnet, where the boys' partially dried belongings had been found. The sighting was made approximately 26 hours later, after Odin had last been seen by a camera at the port. The farmer reported that on November 19, 2018, at around 8 AM, he was stacking firewood into a trailer next to a dirt road in the forest. At some point, the man noticed someone walking down the road, a person with long hair and a yellow jacket. His head was lowered, but as he passed by, he looked up, smiled, and kept walking. The man found this strange, since the person was clearly not dressed for a walk in the woods. About an hour and a half later, the farmer finished loading the firewood and drove down the road in the same direction the person had gone. The farmer hoped to see him again, but the mysterious stranger had vanished. Let's try to figure out what might have happened to Odin Jakobsen. Odin was at a party with friends in a room at the Comfort Hotel. What exactly happened there is unknown. During questioning, the young people admitted that they watched TV and drank beer, but the police stated that Odin was not intoxicated on the night he disappeared. At 4:40 AM, the group left the hotel. A couple of minutes later, they stopped briefly on a bench. After that, the young people walked through the city together, appearing twice on surveillance cameras. At 5:09, a camera records Odin already without his friends. The next sightings were made at 5:28, 5:29, and 5:30. Then the young man moves north toward the water utility, where he is caught on camera 3 more times. At 5:35, 5:37, and 5:39. Based on this data, it is impossible to reconstruct Odin's exact route. However, if we connect all the points, we get the following. Before the young man parted ways with his friends, he told them he planned to take the bus home. But he still wouldn't have been able to get home. Why? It was early Sunday morning and the first buses didn't start running until after 9 o'clock. Maybe he wasn't just wandering aimlessly around the city, but was simply killing time waiting for the bus? By the way, at that moment Odin's phone was dead. The next sightings of the young man were already on the port grounds. But how did he get there? The last time Odin was seen by a camera was in a residential area. Most likely he crossed the canal using one of the 2 bridges. Then, after passing the railway station and the police station, for some reason he headed towards the port. His passport, phone, bank card, and transport card were found, right behind this building. They were neatly lying by the wall, covered with leaves. Then the young man appears on camera, leaving the area where his belongings had been left. This is the building. The area where the belongings were left is not in the camera's field of view, and we can only see the left side of the building. Since he came out from the right side, it can be assumed that he was the one who left his things there. But why he did this is unclear. The last sighting was made by this camera, which monitors the stone warehouse area. One of them walks past the white container, where his belongings will later be found. A bag with sportswear, a hat, and a sneaker. This is the strangest part of the case, which raises many questions. Why were the belongings found in this particular place? Why was only one sneaker found? How did it end up on the pallet with the stones? And in general, why did the guy need to throw a bag of clothes out of his backpack, as well as take off his hat and sneaker? This is truly puzzling. The bag with the clothes was inside a blue sports bag, which the guy was holding in front of him with both hands the entire time. But that very bag was never found, nor were some of its contents, namely a pair of sneakers, a sweatshirt, a food container, and toiletries. So what happened to the young man when he disappeared behind the container? In fact, the guy was heading toward a dead end, but at the very end there is a small lighthouse, and maybe, just maybe, he decided to visit it. The path to the lighthouse is made of huge boulders, so getting there wouldn't be easy, especially considering that the stones are wet and it's dark outside. It's possible the guy fell into the water while trying to reach the lighthouse and met his end at the bottom of the bay. However, this is just a theory, and in this case, any scenario is possible, be it an accident, a voluntary disappearance, suicide, or a crime. Suspicious actions by the driver of a car, who arrived at the place where Odin was last seen and where his belongings were found 6 hours later, point toward the latter. The actions of this man are quite strange, as is his story about why he ended up at that place. This person claimed that he took some of Odin's belongings, brought them to the lake, and burned them. According to the man, he got very scared when he found out they belonged to the missing guy and decided to burn them. But his story is not convincing, so the real reason why he actually went to the port and took Odin's things remains unknown. And why did he only take some of the items? These things had no value. It's also interesting that he didn't mention any of this to the police during the first interrogation. And what about the supposed sighting of Odin made by the farmer, a day after the young man was last caught on camera? It's noteworthy that the sighting happened in the same geographic area where his half-burned belongings were found. The farmer stated that the stranger had long hair and was wearing a yellow jacket, which matches Odin's description. Could it have been Odin? Or was the farmer mistaken? Either way, no one ever saw Odin Jakobsen again. He vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a digital footprint, surveillance camera footage, and his personal belongings. What happened to the young man and where he disappeared to remains a mystery to this day.